Get your protractor out, nerd, because I'm ranting Wumbo style right now. I am so tired of the Epstein Files being treated like it's Half-Life 3, where there's all these like leaks being teased all the time and then nothing. Nothing ever happens. Just release the files. It's been years, and it feels like every 6 months there's like this big push, like, they're finally coming. It's on the way. Batten down the hatches because you're not ready for this bombshell, and then poof. What? Nothing. Nothing new. The reason I'm ranting about this is because yesterday I kept reading and kept being told, like, tomorrow's the big day. The Epstein Files are finally fully declassified and all of it's coming out tomorrow. The dam has broken, we're gonna know everyone's names, and we're not ready for it because there's names on there you'd never expect, like, fucking Commander Shepard's on there, you know? The Citadel has been compromised. Like, it's like, okay, finally, it's about time, you know? All this red tape, we finally got around it. Good, let's release it. Well, now it's tomorrow, and all I have seen, some people have this binder that they're all holding that says Epstein Files Phase 1, and they're doing this. They're taking prom photos with it. They're just cheesing on top of the binder and still not releasing it. If what you have there are the Epstein Files, why don't you make like a fart trapped in my butt and release it? Instead, they're just taking, like, these photo ops, like they're just looking for Instagram updates. Like, what the fuck? It's starting to just feel completely performative. It's feeling like it's just banished to the shadow realm forever. Because I have seen this as a talking point for a while now when people are looking for, like approval on things or trying to get into a position of power. I've seen this as a big talking point, like, hey, if you choose me, when I get in there, come hell or high water, I don't care whose feelings get hurt, I'm releasing the Epstein Files. I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna take a power stance, lat spread, and teabag this shit, going right into the department, marching in there, slapping the files out of their hand, and I'm putting it in the American public's hands. Take my word for it. Well, now there's a lot of people that can do that, and it's still not happening. The names are still not being released. The most we ever get is these little tiddlywinks of Epstein File morsels that have been known for years, and they parade it around like it's new info. It's so stupid, and I'm beyond tired of it, because there is no doubt so much redacted information that is still not publicly known that I'm fully confident they have access to, especially judging by these pictures they're all posing with, like, here's the Epstein Files, I've got them right here. Well, how about you open it and let us take a peek inside if we're that close to releasing it? Like, today was supposed to be the day. At least that's everything I kept reading and getting told. So when is it? When will we finally know all of these names and all of this information? Because it has been so long of the same song and dance. Now, as I've been making this video, a new article just dropped that states that after review of the release documents from today, most of the information has been heavily redacted and previously reported. Also, it's called into question if the information was ever even classified in the first place, and it's drawing, of course, heavy criticism because apparently it boils down to being some of Epstein's phone book. And now I just read another article that said it's being pushed to tomorrow because the FBI director is withholding thousands of pages. It's such a mess. Like, I am fully expecting tomorrow to roll around and still nothing to be there. Hopefully I'm wrong about that. We'll see. But based on what I'm reading from the people that did have access to this huge new information, it boils down to mostly redacted shit, as well as things we already knew, and then some of Epstein's phone book. So when are we actually getting the meat and potatoes, the fucking spaghetti and meatballs of all of these Epstein names and all of this absolutely evil shit that they apparently have had access to for so long but still haven't released? It just feels like I'm perpetually reading BuzzFeed slop headlines in regards to this. The first arrest will shock you. The Epstein Files are coming. Okay, that's exciting. When? I'm ready to be shocked. When's that first arrest happening? Why hasn't it happened yet? Like, who is it? Who are you trying to catch? Is it fucking Adam Warlock? Like, why can't we get a handle on them? When is that first arrest happening? Like, if these headlines just keep popping up over and over and over again in regards to the Epstein Files, and then there's still nothing that ever gets released. It's at the point now where I really feel like there might not ever be an arrest that comes from it, and there may never come a point where the Epstein Files ever get fully released. I also read a couple days ago that allegedly the FBI was working to delete some of the files, so it's just such a fucking disaster. It's so infuriating. And I keep hearing time and time again, like, it's coming, it's almost here. It's set your alarm clock. But it's become like the Bloodborne 2 of documents. It just doesn't exist, it feels like. I guess when Jeffrey Epstein mysteriously found a way to kill himself in prison, like, Tony Stark of suicide, he killed himself with nothing but a box of scraps and toilet paper. Somehow, all of the evidence and everything he had vanished with him. And now it only lives on in headlines occasionally about like, well, it's coming, maybe. No, it's actually coming this time, and then it never does. But again, hopefully I'm wrong. Maybe tomorrow is the big day with a lot of new information, a lot of new names, and maybe, God willing, some fucking consequences for the people on the Epstein list. Here's hoping. Fingers crossed. But anyway, just wanted to rant about this briefly. That's about it. So, yep. 2 days ago it was tomorrow. Yesterday it was today. Now look at us. In the present. Today. And still no Epstein Files. They treat these like Bubble Bass treats pickles on a Krabby Patty. Still no pickles, but it turns out he's just hiding them. They have the files, it seems, and instead of releasing it to the American public, they'd rather just give these binders that say Epstein Files Phase 1 to some influencers, so that way they can pose with it like a prized fish, where they're smiling and laughing about it like they're about to go to homecoming, instead of just releasing that information. It's so fucking weird. They're treating these extremely serious files with child sex traffickers in them as if they had just got like a baseball from their favorite MLB player who threw it into the crowd for them. It's just not being taken seriously. Not only by the people that have the binder, it seems, but by the actual GOP. I was going to mention this yesterday, but I decided to, sit on my swamp ass and just stew. We'll wait to see what they say about it tomorrow. Because I thought there was a chance maybe the House Judiciary Twitter account got hacked with this post. Like, surely they'd release a statement today, but no. They're just going to plug their ears and pretend it didn't happen. But I'm sure a lot of you saw yesterday the actual official House Judiciary Twitter account rickrolled the Epstein Files. I shit you not. They posted this tweet, and when you click that link, it takes you to a rickroll. The tweet eventually got deleted, but it was up for hours. It wasn't like a brief thing that some random person scooted into the office and did as a joke. This was something that they posted and kept up for a while. This shit is so outrageous, it has my voice cracking. My vocal folds are left in disbelief like they just watched a David Blaine stunt. Except this isn't like a magic trick or an illusion, this is all very real. They are treating the Epstein Files like some kind of joke. This is one of the most infamous child sex traffickers in American history, and they are treating it as if it's not serious. Pff, what? And now they're just not going to ever address that this happened. They're just going to ignore it. That's craziness. Now, like I said at the beginning, I didn't expect the Epstein Files to be released today because it's been very clear that that's just not coming. And I think we're at the point where even if they do ever release the Epstein Files, there is no faith left, no trust that they won't be tampered with. Like, heavily redacted. They did release some things yesterday, but it was all old information. It wasn't anything new. There was like a couple of like tiny new tidbits, but not really. And at the end of the day, like I said, there's going to be so little trust that this hasn't been heavily fucking flubered with. Made that word up, but it sounds like it could apply. Like, it's a Schmeckeldorfing, it feels like, where the information, it might not even be accurate anymore. Because this has been such an absolute clown show. You can't even trust it. I also just don't even think it's ever going to be released. Period. Like, this has been something that they just keep teasing over and over again, like Beyond Good and Evil 2, and it just, nothing ever comes. It all just fizzles out. And then everyone just forgets about it in like 2 days' time. And I'm so tired of that. They had said the information would be released yesterday, and it was going to be huge. Like, they hyped the shit out of it. This is going to be the Super Bowl of Jeffrey Epstein Files. We finally have the whole kit and caboodle. This is everything, and there's going to be repercussions. People are going to be thrown in jail. People are going to be arrested. Well, that didn't happen yesterday, so they said it's going to be today. It'll be February 28th at 8 a.m. sharp. It's just the fucking pesky FBI director did a little, shady business over here, and, well, we're getting our handle on it, but it's coming 8 a.m. February 28th. Well, still not here. I didn't expect it to actually be released today, but, much like a growth spurt in my 30s, it would have been a nice surprise to finally have them actually release these things. And I feel like in a week, it won't be here. A month, it still won't be released. And eventually people will just forget that it was ever even mentioned, or they might make like an offhanded comment about it like, oh no, we released those. What are you talking about? We stayed true to what we said. We released it. And it's just the information that's already been known for fucking years, with like nothing new added to it. Not what was promised, not what they said was actually coming, with all the arrests, all the jail time, and all these new names and all this new information about these evil fucking people that participated in this child sex trafficking. That has still not been released, and there's still not been consequences. So, when is that ever going to be released? Is it ever? And if it's not, why do you keep pretending that it is? It doesn't make any fucking sense. And it's infuriating. It just feels like all of it is just not being treated seriously at all. The fucking judiciary just making an actual joke out of it, just mocking the Epstein Files, really just taking the whole thing of child sex trafficking and boiling it down to a fucking rickroll. That is beyond deplorable. And then just saying like, oh, the files are coming. Nah, they didn't. So what? Like, it's just, there are legitimately, like, nothing is taken seriously anymore by anybody or anything, it feels. I fucking hate it. It's got me spitting. I am covering these monitors in saliva. I am just flabbergasted. I feel like I'm in rock bottom right now, like with the amount of spit that I'm doing here. But I can't help it. It is unbelievable. Let's just set aside this instance of the House Judiciary rickroll. Why in tarnation on God's green earth would you want your House Judiciary to be cringe meme lord Reddit tier losers making rickrolls in the year 2025 of our Lord on anything, let alone something as serious as the Epstein Files? How is that not embarrassing? How is that not shameful? I'll stop yapping and ranting about it, but it is just mind-boggling that they can do that and then nothing happens. They just get to pretend it never happened. They just don't even have the wherewithal to even mention it again or try and explain what led them to thinking that was a good idea, or explaining why the Epstein Files that they've promised are still not being released. It's so fucking dumb. It's really about it. See ya. I'm about to have a conniption. I'm sure all of you have seen this by now, but I have to yap about it. It is infuriating. New information just dropped from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation, if you want to call it that. I don't think that nomenclature applies to this circus that's being performed here with all of this. It's a clown show. It's about as much of an investigation as Bozo investigating a pie that was thrown in his face. It's a fucking joke. Read this headline and tell me it doesn't make you fail the try not to fume challenge. This shit has got me steaming. They are trying to, with a straight face, say that Jeffrey Epstein never had a client list and did commit suicide. There was no foul play, no fishy business there. That was no horseradish, no flag on the play, just a classical suicide. Also, no client list, no blackmail, no evidence of either of those two things. How peculiar, considering it wasn't that long ago that they were flaunting that the client list was coming out, the Epstein Files were releasing. They even gave the Phase 1 files to a bunch of influencers online for some photo ops, and they were posing like fucking prom pictures. They made a big hoopla that those were the Epstein Files in their paws right there. And they'll eventually release to us plebeians out here. Well, if there's no client list, what the fuck is in those folders? What Pokemon card binder? Like, what did you give them? Yeah, apparently there's no client list, so what did you hand them? Just an empty file? An empty folder? And not only that, Pam Bondi herself here, she has made so many statements about, like, how the Epstein client list is on her desk right now. You know, it's over there gathering dust. She'll eventually brush it all off and drip feed us the information as it comes, and everyone that's on that list is gonna face justice. She was cutting WWE promos about the Jeffrey Epstein client list. She'd even set hard dates on when it's gonna drop like it was a new album. Mark your calendars, sports fans. The Epstein Files dropping on this date. And then the date rolls around and it's just nothing. Like, actually nothing Burger Central. Like, shit got more delayed than Half-Life 3. It just never showed up, even though she would set dates, and then all of a sudden she's got excuses for why it's not there. But now, apparently there was no client list in the first place, so what the fuck was sitting on your desk, Pam? How could the client list be sitting on your desk when the DOJ and FBI say that there is no client list? What an interesting pickle. That's quite a conundrum. She says that she had the client list, like a physical copy on her desk. She constantly has referenced the client list, spoken directly about the client list. But now all of a sudden, DOJ and FBI said it's not a real thing. I have no idea how she's even going to begin to tackle that plot hole there. It is crazy how stupid they treat the rest of humanity. Like, all of the people on the planet are lobotomites, and they can be fed any information whatsoever, and they'll accept it with a smile on their face and think nothing of it. And in some cases, that does happen. But in something like this, there should be 0 people on the planet that are happy with this and believe this, because this is the most blatant, fraudulent lie since Wes Watson lying about being 6 feet tall. This is absurd. This is just ridiculous. It is downright diabolical to be doing a cover-up job like this. It's literally fart investigated poop and found no shit. They have talked about it themselves for so long about having this client list and all of this blackmail evidence and everything, about how all of them are going to face justice. Pam Bondi talked about tens of thousands of videos that they recovered as well. Like, how are you going to just wipe your ass with that and expect people to believe it? If anyone believes this, you need serious psychiatric help. If you actually swallow this shit they fed you with this information, that it's, a case of suicide, no client list, and no blackmail, you really need to take a hard look in the mirror. Because you are just not like a thinker. Like, you don't have a thinking cap on at all. Because this is just absurd. There should be no one on the planet that is fooled by this. This should make you mad. It absolutely should make you very upset. Because this is blatantly covering up for corrupt, evil people in high positions of power. I saw this said as a joke, but I actually think we're pretty close to them just denying Jeffrey Epstein ever even existed in the first place. I really think the next step here is they're going to start talking about, like, evidence to confirm that Jeffrey Epstein was never real. It was a code name for, like, a shadow operative that never actually existed. There was no island. There were no victims. I think we are not far away from them trying that play, because they are using every weird tactic in the book to try and bury anything even remotely related to Jeffrey Epstein, while trying to put on a strong face about how everyone's going to face justice. Well, where's that? That hasn't happened, and it hasn't happened for years. So what is up with all of this lying? They just keep kicking the can down the road. They have still not released the Epstein Files, and now they've put the kibosh on it, saying the Epstein Files aren't even real in the first place. It was all just made up, a fucking illusion. So now it is 100% ensuring everyone that was associated with all of that evil gets away with it. And they're just proudly doing it in front of the entire American public's face, spitting in everyone's mouth, by trying to say it doesn't exist, it's not real. No client list, no blackmail, nothing like that, and he did kill himself. And apparently they're releasing some surveillance camera footage, like a lot of hours worth of that, to show that no one entered his cell during any of that time. Obviously just doing everything in their power to put the conversation of Jeffrey Epstein and everything around the topic to rest. So now you have the 3-letter organizations all working together, the DOJ, the FBI, the DVD, the VCR, the BBL, all of them working together, now trying to sell this horseradish about there being no client list and no blackmail. Like, I cannot believe that they are just trying to just say that, even though it's been something they've supposedly acted on and investigated for years and made huge progress on, and want to get the information out to the American people because of these dangerous individuals that need to be held accountable and face justice for the crimes that they engaged in on Jeffrey Epstein's island. It was even used as a political talking point for some individuals to gain positions of power, using it as part of their platform about how they're going to fight for justice and release these Jeffrey Epstein files that have been, clogged up for so long and not, the information not out and available to the public. They were going to be the ones to break that dam. They were going to pursue this, come hell or high water, fighting night and day for it. And now those people have been elected only to flip-flop, and now they're totally fine burying the Jeffrey Epstein subject entirely. You should be asking yourself, why? I'll stop ranting on it, but it is just mind-boggling how dumb the government thinks everybody is. And I hope they're not right, because under no circumstances should this be something that people just let go of. Like, oh, this is a bit of a blemish right now, but People forget it in a little while. It's not that big of a deal. It's a huge deal. And there should be nobody out there downplaying it. This is preposterous. And I just had to yap about it. I just said I'd stop ranting about it, but now I'm once again getting fucking wound up about it. That's really about it. So yeah. Yep, much to the chagrin of a lot of people in power, the conversation around Jeffrey Epstein doesn't seem to be fizzling out anytime soon, which is great. Hopefully, it will keep this steam and will never peter out, because it is of the utmost importance that this gets corrected, that they stop trying to perpetuate these lies that they're attempting to shove down the American public's throat about Jeffrey Epstein not having a list, not indulging in blackmail, and then trying to drop what has now been revealed as modified footage of Jeffrey Epstein's cell area to prove that he took his own life and no one came in there. There was no fishy business. The Baba Yaga didn't pay him a visit or anything. And they try and proclaim that that footage was like the raw, real deal, organic sourced footage here. But what we're talking about today, it turns out that was once again another fucking lie. CoffeeZilla just made a video talking about it as well, so I'm going to play a few clips from that because he is significantly more intelligent than I am. And buckle your seatbelt because it is a wild ride.
The raw Epstein footage was modified according to its metadata, despite Dan Bongino previously saying that they would release the original footage so you wouldn't think there were shenanigans.
There's video. We are working on cleaning it up to make sure you have an enhanced, and we're going to give the original so you don't think there were any shenanigans.
Well, unfortunately, that's not what we got.
To briefly explain for those that don't know, when the DOJ and FBI came out and said that Epstein did not have a list, did not indulge in blackmail, and did in fact commit suicide, they then dropped some footage that was supposed to corroborate that there really was no one else that entered his area and killed him or anything. So they dropped a lot of footage. And it was supposed to be the raw feed of it. Turns out that doesn't seem to be the case. It was very likely modified, and you're about to see the metadata that indicates that it most likely was, as well as a forensic expert that weighs in that also thinks that it was not done properly here.
And basically they pulled the metadata and showed that the footage appears to be assembled from at least 2 source clips, saved multiple times, exported, and then uploaded to the DOJ's website, where it was presented as raw footage, which technically it is not. Now, I pulled the EXIF data myself. This is what it looks like. You can see that there's these ingredients file path here, where you can see 4 different files. 2 of them are just identical. So 2 unique files here that have been basically stitched together is the most charitable interpretation.
So they went into Adobe Premiere and edited the footage, saving it multiple times. I cannot believe that they would even leave the metadata intact. You would think that these 3-letter organizations would be better at hiding their dirty work. Now, maybe if they were using the superior editing program, Sony Vegas, they would have been able to, get away with it more effectively, because Sony Vegas probably doesn't even have metadata. It's so fucking archaic. But they went into Adobe Premiere, spliced this together, and then sent it as raw when it is not raw. It is edited. That is, legitimately, by all possible definitions, a lie. Even though Bongino said, no, you're going to get the raw, so there's no shenanigans. But all we get is shenanigans.
Yes, maybe you didn't do anything with it, but it kind of ruins the whole chain of evidence. Wired actually quotes a professor of UC Berkeley whose research focuses on digital forensics. He has testified in numerous court cases, and he says, if a lawyer brought me this file and asked if it was suitable for court, I'd say no. Go back to the source. Do it right. Do a direct export from the original system. No monkey business.
It's actually scary just how blatant this corruption is. For years, they have talked about the Epstein list and the blackmail. It is something that everybody knows exists. There is endless amounts of evidence to suggest its legitimacy. Yet now, all of a sudden, they're like, nah, it's not real. No, that's just fictitious. That's like fucking Santa Claus's list right there. That's not real. No naughty and nice list. No Jeffrey Epstein list. There's no such thing. Jeffrey Epstein's not even a real person. That's just a made-up fairy tale. They haven't gone that far with that claim, but like I said last time, I feel like we're not far off from them just trying to deny Jeffrey Epstein ever even existed, trying to scrub him from the history books here. But they are actively just not even trying to make this believable. They are so confident that they will not be held accountable that they don't even bother to do even the slightest amount of elbow grease to convince anyone to believe them. And they're right, like nothing's happening to them. They are covering up for one of the biggest pedophiles in history that implicates some of the most powerful people across the globe. And they are sweeping it under the rug. There have been no arrests made, and it doesn't seem like they're pursuing it at all. Caroline even just recently said that they're not, like, releasing anything in regards to it because of, like, how graphic and gross all of it is.
What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Oh, they provided the results of that? How many people went to jail, Caroline? I must have missed that update. Were there a lot of bad guys that got locked up here? Oh man, that's huge. I feel like more people should know that. Can you share who all got arrested from all of the Epstein investigations? This vile worm tries to say that nothing's going to get released, and I guess nothing's going to happen to anyone that was incriminated here because a lot of it was not fit for public consumption. Fucking weirdo, no one's asking you to, like, share the videos or anything like that. But you are saying that you have this evidence and you're doing nothing with it. And we know there is a list of clients and a lot of people that engaged with it. Fucking arrest them! What the public deserves is that you will follow through with your duty of arresting these evil people that you have unbelievable amounts of evidence on. Which is not happening. This is the furthest thing from transparency, unless she's trying to argue that this cover-up is so blatant, obvious, and terrible that everyone can see through it, so you can immediately know how guilty some of the most powerful people are, then I guess that makes sense, because this is such a poorly done attempt at burying this that everyone can see through it. Is that the point she was trying to make? Perhaps, I guess. Every step of the way here, they are lying and trying to cover up everything related to Jeffrey Epstein, including this footage that was supposed to be raw footage.
The video aspect ratio suddenly shifts as the tape changes over or whatever they claim. You can see that right here. There's like a sudden shift in the video. I have not changed this video in any way. I have it in the Premiere Pro timeline, which I guess they had as well. So this is as intended. So there's this just weird shifts in the footage. I mean, this was done in actually a very sloppy way after they explicitly talked about needing to do it in the right way so the American public could rely on it.
Now, as CoffeeZilla says, it could be all just incompetence, like actually just fucking troglodytes here in charge of all of this. So even though they called attention to needing to do it the right way, they're just so fucking brain dead, like actual lobotomites, and just couldn't even do it the right way, so then they just farted this out. Like, it could be, like, no manipulation here. Like, this is just how it's done. Like, for some reason, it dumps a minute, like, as it's switching over. And they had to put it into editing software and fuck up the aspect ratio. I guess it could be incompetence. But I would not be that charitable with this. They are doing so much lying. Again, we already know about the list existing, and we know about the blackmail. That is all real stuff. And now they're denying it. And now they're doing this modifying of footage while trying to fight back against the conspiracy that Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. It's just insanity. They are so confident that the public will do nothing about it. They'll get upset, but they'll just swallow it and be done with it and move on. And some people are, but I'm happy that most aren't. They are desperately doing everything in their power to try and bury this whole conversation about Jeffrey Epstein. Like a couple days ago where Trump interrupted a question about it in order to try and shift to something else. Like, are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein, that creep? How can you be talking about him when there's floods going on in Texas? It's such a bad look.
Why there was a minute missing from the jailhouse tape on the night of the set?
Yeah, sure. If I
Could I just interrupt for 1 second? Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. You're asking, we have Texas, we have this, we have all of the things. And are people still talking about this guy, this creep? That is unbelievable. Do you want to waste the time, and do you feel like answering?
I don't mind answering.
I mean, I can't believe you're asking a question on Epstein at a time like this, where we're having some of the greatest success and also tragedy with what happened in Texas.
Yeah, people are still talking about Epstein. It's one of the biggest, most in-your-face cover-ups most people have ever seen. This is one of the biggest pedophiles in history that implicates so many extremely powerful people. Yeah, people are still talking about it, understandably, because the people deserve answers, and there needs to be justice for all of the people that engaged in this. This desperation from those in power to move on from the Jeffrey Epstein conversation is extremely scary, and they are doing it with reckless abandon, feeling completely immune to consequences for all of this. And so far, they're right. Like, there's not anything that's coming from it. There's still no arrest being made. There's still no new information coming out. The only information we get is more information about how they are lying, like modifying the footage and shit. It's craziness. I just wanted to give you a little update here with everything that's unfolding in the Jeffrey Epstein case. And yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. I'm running out of words to express my disbelief in how the Jeffrey Epstein case is being handled by the government. Like, I'm having to make up words to try and encapsulate my feelings. We're all being mahoujanized here by, like, these elites in power that are so desperate to bury the Epstein conversation. To briefly bring you up to speed, if you're a little lost, previously on Dragon Ball Z, the FBI and DOJ had concluded their investigation and determined that there was no Epstein client list, there was no blackmail, and Epstein did indeed take his own life. This runs counter to everything the government has said for years in the previous administration and in the current administration. Even infamously Pam Bondi saying she's got the files, everything's on her desk, and it set so many deadlines for its release. And one of the big talking points for a lot of people running for positions of power was how they were going to be the ones to declassify the Epstein Files and release the Epstein Files. But then the DOJ and FBI pulled a reflafitation job here and just retconned all the lore, sent out some new talking points to the puppets, that there is no client list, there is no blackmail, and he killed himself. So that's what all these ghoulish vermin, these zombies in suits, have been spouting. Until last night, where Trump made a post that said, there are files, but they are made by Obama, Crooked Hillary, the Democrats, and everyone. Which goes against what the DOJ and FBI was just trying to say about the outright existence of those kind of things not being in the fucking corporeal realm. But now Trump is saying, no, they're there, but they're like really fraudulent because Obama and Hillary and everyone, they like made them. It was so absurd, in fact, that he got ratioed on his own platform by his most loyal of enthusiasts. It is such a bad job at covering this up, everyone is seeing through it. And I want to go over it here, because this is like a full-blown reflafitation that we're witnessing. Like, that's not even a word, and yet that word still elicits some kind of emotion. Like, it still feels like it fucking means something. I don't have words to express how bad all of this has become. It's unreal. What's going on with my boys, and in some cases, gals? An excellent intro right there. That would be an A+ on the summer book report. My God, what a way of starting a post. They're all going after Attorney General Pam Bondi, who's doing a fantastic job. We're on one team, MAGA, and I don't like what's happening. We have a perfect administration, the talk of the world, and selfish people are trying to hurt it all over a guy who never dies, Jeffrey Epstein. For years, it's Epstein over and over again. Why are we giving publicity to files written by Obama, Crooked Hillary, Comey, Brennan, and losers and criminals of the Biden administration who conned the world with the Russia hoax, 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, and more? He literally right there says that there's files, which is the exact opposite of what the DOJ and FBI have been saying, that there are no files, there are no client lists, there is nothing there. But now he's saying it is there, but you can't trust it because Obama and Hillary and all these other people worked on it. Like, what the fuck? He continues, why didn't the radical left lunatics release the Epstein Files? If there was anything in there that could have hurt the MAGA movement, why didn't they use it? Fucking exactly! If this was written by Obama and Crooked Hillary, Why wouldn't they have used this against you when they had power? Fucking Biden was president for 4 years. If they had already orchestrated this fraudulent Epstein list, don't you think they would have dropped it as a weapon against you? You are contradicting your own statement here. The reason these files haven't been released is because it implicates so many people from all sides of the political spectrum, so both sides are fucking fearful of these ever seeing the light of day. If this really was written by Obama and the crew here, surely that would have dropped at some point. No doubt. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the end here because the little nugget at the end is unreal. 1 year ago, our country was dead. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. Let's keep it that way and not waste time and energy on Jeffrey Epstein, somebody that nobody cares about. One of the biggest pedophiles in history, with clientele that includes some of the most powerful people in the world. And now all of a sudden nobody cares about Jeffrey Epstein? What? What are you trying to even say? You yourself even made the promise that you would declassify the Epstein Files if you were elected. If you were elected, you were going to make a big song and dance about this transparency and the Epstein Files coming out. So many people around you also made the same claims, and now all of a sudden, nobody cares about Jeffrey Epstein? Nobody? Nobody out there at all? Huh, that's so odd. That's so weird how that just fucking flip-flopped. That's really weird. This desperation from the people in power to bury this conversation should be extraordinarily alarming to anyone that is using any amount of neurons in their noodle. Like, just think for a moment. Why are they trying to pretend that this is nothing? They're trying to, like, hypnotize or brainwash people into just writing this off as no big deal. They were talking about children being raped by so many people in power. In what universe is that not a huge issue that everyone should care about? You are paying taxes to and are being controlled by people that were raping children. And they are not facing justice, even though justice is what was promised by this administration and had been repeated so many times to the American public of how they were going to be pursuing justice come hell or high water. Everyone that Epstein ever associated with, everyone incriminated in these files is going to face the piper. So put that in your pipe and smoke it, criminals. And now they're just saying, no, it's not real, it doesn't exist, there's no evidence of that, we're not doing anything. And not only are they not doing anything, they're actively lying to the public about all of it and now trying to convince the public that it's stupid to make a big deal out of it, and that you're wrong for making a big deal out of it. Again, keep in mind, a lot of people that are currently in power use the Jeffrey Epstein talking point as a huge piece, because the previous administration completely fucking failed in delivering anything of substance in regards to that investigation. So, this next cycle, a ton of people were using it as a way of trying to win over a lot of people about how transparent they're going to be and how justice is going to be a priority. And now that they're in a position to actually deliver on that justice, they're just burying it, outright just denying its existence, and making sure all of those that were implicated get away with it. I don't know how any sane human being with a functioning frontal lobe could look at this as anything other than a complete betrayal and a lie in using their power to protect these elite pedophiles on the Jeffrey Epstein list. It should be something everyone cares about, but they're trying to tell you to reject what you know to be true and just mindlessly follow their every single word. Words that change every single day. There's no one story. They are constantly flip-flopping. They're not even in agreement with their own stories at all, but you just need to swallow all the shit they feed you. They were already telling you how important Jeffrey Epstein and everything in regards to that case was. Now they're telling you it's not important and it's not real, so get over it. You need to not let that actually take hold in your psyche. This is the most blatant, bad cover-up ever. This is the worst cover-up job in history, yet somehow it is actually still working for some people. There are people that are now just writing it off as no big deal. Guys, can we get on to the next thing now? This is stupid. We're so hung up on this Epstein thing. I've never even heard of Epstein. Epstein? I don't even know how to say his name. I have no idea what any of this is about. All I know is there's no big deal. Fucking goofball Stephen A. Smith recently had this to say about it.
It's really, really surprising that this matters. Of course, I think there's a list, but I don't know. I suspect, but I have no knowledge, nor do I care. It's Friday night. I'm getting ready to go out and enjoy myself. I'm getting ready to have a nice weekend. I could give a damn about the Epstein client list. This has no effect on me whatsoever. I have a life. I don't understand for the life of me why this matters so much to these. I'm talking about people losing it. They're crying on camera. They're talking about resignations. They're pissed off about everything. I'm like, really?
That's a fascinating perspective there, Stephen. I see you put on your stupid cap for this. That's very interesting. So it's no big deal to you that children were being raped by Epstein and all of his associates, many of those associates being very powerful political figures? That you don't understand why that would be like a big deal? Or something that people care about? Oh, but you're going out on Friday night to go eat fucking shrimp or something, so you're having like a great time. It doesn't affect you. What is even the point you're trying to make here? You're just implying that because you're about to go have like a nice Friday night, you have a life, thus you can't be bothered to care about these absolutely heinous crimes that other people seem to care about that you don't understand why. Good news, everyone. Stephen A. Smith is not directly affected by the unthinkable crimes committed by Epstein and all of his associates, so the case is closed. There is no point in even pursuing justice against all of the criminals that were involved. There's certainly no point in talking about it any further. In fact, he is criticizing people that are talking about it still. He doesn't think it's that big of a deal because he's busy. He's a busy guy. He's a very social guy. He's got a function on a Friday night where he can go enjoy some hors d'oeuvres. He doesn't really seem to care all that much about this whole Epstein thing and all the victims there, I suppose. That's what he's implying. So move on. Is it like that's the message he's delivering here? It's crazy. He is directly implying that it doesn't affect him. He doesn't seem to care and doesn't think anyone is justified in caring. It doesn't make sense to him why people care so much about these heinous, evil crimes. That is crazy that he is just confidently saying that with his whole chest. He's unafraid to just say how little it matters to him with how evil this shit is. You can see the talking points have now actually hit the desks. So there's a lot of people that are now trying to regurgitate this vomit about like it's just not a big deal. It's so surprising anyone cares. And you can see that his cohort here is giggling. His handlers went and programmed some laughter into his protocol so that way they could try and like turn this into a joke. Which is like the administration has done that before. Remember when they teased the Epstein Files release and what they actually did was drop a Rickroll on Twitter for it? It's crazy they have taken one of the biggest pedophiles in history that has the most evil shit ever in it and have made it into this, a joke, and trying to parade it around like it's no big deal and that you're wrong for caring about it.
With all the stuff going on in this country, with all the power that you possess because of the cachet and the influence you have because of your connection to this administration. That's why you upset at Trump. I didn't blame Trump one bit for looking at them and saying, really? That really matters to you? That's really that important? Now, maybe he had a different reason for saying it, trying to be evasive or whatever. I don't know. But I do know this. In the grand scheme of things, it ain't going to affect the lives of over 200 to 300 million Americans. I think we'll be just fine without knowing whether or not there was really a client list. I think we'll be okay. It's unbelievable that this is a big deal to me. It really is.
Holy shit, Steven. You're like Superman. No, you're like an anime protagonist. What a hero with this take. It's unbelievable to Steven that anyone cares about children being raped and being upset that the people responsible aren't being thrown in jail for it. They're not facing any repercussions and they remain in power. He can't process why anyone would care about that. What an interesting perspective, Stephen. That is very special stuff. Fascinating. This is fucking unhinged. He is just proudly, confidently saying that people need to just like move on and grow up, that this isn't some like big deal, and he can't wrap his head around why anyone's caring about it. Because he's not directly affected by it because he's going to go eat dinner. Like, what? What? Like, I'm actually having like a fucking Scatman level meltdown right here at a loss for words. How people can actually have that mentality. Everyone is affected by this, by the way, because it now proves that there are people that are above the law. And those people are people you directly pay taxes to in a lot of cases, Stephen. Everyone is affected here, you fucking goober. He's not the only one. This has become like a common talking point. I guess the talking point emails went out maybe with a little bit of money under the table for it as well. That this is now what they're trying to regurgitate. They're trying to plant this idea in everyone's head that it's been blown way out of proportion and that you shouldn't care about it. They are trying to convince you not to care about this level of evil and that they will lie directly to your face. Like, you can go to their own words over the last year or so, and you can hear them talk about it very differently, about how important the Jeffrey Epstein investigation is, and the client list, and the blackmail, all those files. Like, that had become a crucial talking point for these same people that are now saying, no big deal, doesn't exist, move on. Ask yourself, why? Why? Just please, I'm begging you, do not let someone like Stephen A. Smith convince you that it's not something you should care about. You should. It's extremely important. And it is crazy that it continues to get even more insane with the handling of the entire Epstein conversation. They are so desperate to bury it. It's fucking scary. That's really about it. See ya. 5'6" funky Florida man coming at you again with a new infuriating update in the disastrous handling of the Jeffrey Epstein case here. No good news on this front, sports fans. All of us continue to wiggle our cheeks into the front row seats to blatant, evil, degenerate corruption with the most obvious cover-up of all time and unfolding right in front of our fucking faces. Today, I'm sure a lot of you saw, there was an amendment put forth that would try and force the DOJ to release the information they have on Epstein. I'm going to go ahead and immediately tackle the titties on this one up front because some new talking points have hit the influencers' desks. A bunch of these shill android homunculi are going around with the pocket watch out, trying to hypnotize the public into believing that this amendment was trying to push for something that it wasn't. They are claiming that this amendment was trying to have the DOJ release unredacted information and evidence in the Epstein case, meaning all of the victims' names and videos and shit, and basically saying that it was trying to get them to release child porn here, which is so fucking outlandish, it is lunacy. That is a load of barnacles, and yet there are a lot of people that now believe it because they didn't bother to look at it themselves at all. From all available information, as well as from the individual behind the amendment himself, this was basically just trying to get the DOJ to release the Epstein evidence and client list, which, as you might recall, is exactly what Trump promised to do. Not only Trump, but a lot of people in the administration as well, and a lot of people that ran with that as a crucial point. All of them assuring the public that if they get elected, this would be something that they would release, for sure, because it's extremely important. Now, they haven't, and they are actively denying its existence and burying it. And now the new talking point is Trump claiming that, well, the files do exist, contrary to what the DOJ and FBI said about, like, there being no client list and no blackmail. Trump is saying, no, the files exist, but you can't trust them, they're fraudulent because they were written by Obama and crooked Hillary. But in essence, you can kind of boil this amendment down to basically just wanting Trump and the administration to follow through on that promise of releasing what they said they would release. This is the flight logs, this is the client list, that kind of shit. It is not trying to force the DOJ to release unredacted videos and information of the victims. That is obviously not something that anyone is asking be shared with the public. It is disgusting, and it is a crazy deflection that they're trying to pull here. So, anyway, this amendment was put in there, and it was voted on by, first, the House Rules Committee, where it caught the hands in the Thunderdome and got blocked. They took it over their knee and spanked its keister. Also, I am unfamiliar with Virginia Fox here, but she is looking like an ancient artifact here. That is a fossil. Pardon me while I go on a bit of a tangent here. It's a little unrelated to everything, but I'm just so tired of how everyone in power seems to be extraordinarily old. She looks straight out of a sarcophagus. Why is everyone in power here so old? Like, Jesus Christ, she looks like every time she farts, dust comes out. And it's not like exclusive to just like some political people here and there. It's like a ton of them. Fucking Joe Biden was hardly ever lucid. You'd have to wave like an ice cream cone around his nose just to get him alert for conferences. Like, it is crazy how common it is that the people that lead us are so fucking old. Like, Trump is extremely old too. So many of them are, and I'm really tired of that being commonplace. Anyway, though, I'll stop ranting about that. The amendment got blocked here. But that didn't mean that it was completely dead in the water. It then went to another vote, which was the whole House voting on it. But spoiler alert, you can probably piece together the breadcrumbs here. Didn't go so well there either.
On this vote, the yeas are 211, the nays are 210. The previous question is ordered. The question is on adoption of the resolution. Those in favor say aye. Those opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.
R.I.P. to that. That got fucking two-pieced here today. It lost 211 to 210. Now, as I understand it, this would have been leading to a debate, at least, on the topic of the Epstein Files. And it still got blocked. Even just the notion of talking deeper about the Epstein Files. Now, I was reading a bit from people that have been very vocal about how important this is to them, yet they came in here and still voted to block it. And from what I've read, they're saying that it was confusing in that this amendment was attached to a larger discussion and vote around cryptocurrency and legislation in regards to cryptocurrency. So some voted no because of that. I also read some of them saying that this wasn't actually a vote about the Epstein thing because it was attached to the Genius Act, which was the cryptocurrency thing. What they were voting no to was the Democrats having the House floor or something to that effect. Ultimately, though, the outcome is the same. There is now not going to be a debate or deeper discussion on the Epstein Files and client list as a result of this amendment or anything. It has been blocked in that regard. So whatever the reason for the no was, the outcome is that that is not going to happen, at least not from this amendment, at least not right now. Regardless, the outcome remains the same. The Epstein Files remain in this limbo where for many years they had existed and were very important, and any day now it's coming, and then a week ago DOJ, FBI says it's not real, there's no list, there's no blackmail, Epstein killed himself, and now, a few days after that, the files are real, they do exist, but Obama and crooked Hillary wrote them. So it is just a huge fucking song and dance, and ultimately still getting nowhere here. Our government continues to unapologetically protect pedophiles that were incriminated in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Still, no arrests have been made, and they continue to lie about even the existence of some of this evidence. And they're hoping that eventually you'll just move on from it. If they can continue to downplay it and try and hypnotize you into thinking it's no big deal, maybe eventually you'll swallow the shit they feed you with a big smile on your face and be the compliant, good little drone that they want you to become. And for some people, it is working. Unfortunately, every single day there's more and more people just wanting to bury this and move on from it. But I also think there's a large number of people that can see right through this garbage and see just how corrupt this is.
Just a very quick briefing, and in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen, and I would say that, these files were made up by Comey, they were made up by Obama, they were made up by the Biden, we went through years of that with the Russia hoax, with all of the different things that we had to go through. We've gone through years of it. But she's handled it very well, and it's going to be up to her. Whatever she thinks is credible, she should release, yeah.
They think you're a fucking bumbling moron. They think you are stupid. It is unbelievable how little they think of your intelligence to be trying to pull shit like this. Trump continues to try and assure everyone that, well, I guess the files are definitely real now because Trump keeps talking about them, but don't trust them. They are altered. They're fraudulent because they were written by Obama and, the whole crew there, the Democrats. It was all part of this big hoax. Which I'm begging, if you please, just think for a couple of seconds, if that was the case, if these files were all bogus baloney, why wouldn't they have used it as a weapon against Trump and conservatives in general? Why would they engineer this big fraudulent list and then not use it? And also themselves bury it? And pardon me for being a little bold here, but I'd like to plant a little seed in people's noodles. The Democrats have had ample opportunity to also make the Epstein investigation, the files and client list, a priority to release to the public and actually try and hold these criminals accountable. They had years to do this. Why didn't they pursue it when Biden was in office? The only explanation would be that there are powerful people in that party that are also guilty and incriminated in those files. So this has been something that's been a real hot potato that neither political party has really wanted to grip onto. Neither one of them have wanted to actually, dive deeper into the Epstein case. At least not until recently, where it seems like there are some people that are making a push to make it more of a priority. And if something can finally come from that, some justice where these criminals get locked up, that would be fantastic. But as of right now, that's still not happening, It is still in this fucking purgatory, and it is disgusting. This shit is absolutely tragic. And yeah, just another bad update, unfortunately, on this whole Jeffrey Epstein case. That's really about it. So yeah. It should be painfully obvious to anyone that's been following all of this that it is clear the government thinks that you are an idiot. They think you are a drooling, stupid Cro-Magnon that will just happily swallow anything they put into your mouth and not think anything more of it, so they don't even need to try when it comes to the cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein case. There is now a desperate push from Trump and a lot of paid shills to convince the public that the Jeffrey Epstein thing is no big deal and that it's all now a hoax. It has now been officially labeled by Trump and people on the payroll here as a hoax. And they are legitimately laughing at you and actually giggling. They cannot help but have like an actual Santa Claus ho 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 belly laugh at this play here, this fucking play that John Madden's playbook wouldn't even have in it, about how they're just going to tell you that all of it's not real a week ago, and now they're telling you it is real, but it's actually like a big fake hoax from Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the Democrats. And for some people, that's enough. He hit the big buzzwords, so it must be true. So now a lot of people are running with that, like, we gotta move on from this Epstein thing, it's all fraudulent. He said so. Even though Trump literally campaigned as one of his promises to deliver this Epstein information, the client list. Now he is calling it a hoax. Now I want to mention something up top here that I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Yesterday I covered the amendment that was put forth that got fucking smacked down at the Royal Rumble, where there was an amendment put forth that would try and force the DOJ to release the Epstein client list and all that shit. And it got voted against unanimously by the Republicans voting to block it. Democrats voted unanimously to not have it be blocked, so that way they could at least have a debate about the Epstein Files and the handling of it. It didn't go to the next step. It got stopped there, and there was a lot of like citing of confusion and how like, well, actually no, that's not what the vote was for because it was attached to the Genius Act, which is a different cryptocurrency legislation, so they were voting to not do that, and then this was slapped on top of it, so they had to vote no or else it'd give the floor to the Democrats or something, but ultimately the end result was the same. It got blocked. Well, today there's a new proposal that's getting put forth that is aiming to do something similar in a different way that has support from all the Democrats and 7 Republicans as of now, but apparently even more will be co-signing it, about releasing the Jeffrey Epstein client list and that kind of shit. So I'm very curious to see how that unfolds. I'll go ahead and play you a little bit here where they interviewed.
And tomorrow. And this is to force, this is a discharge petition, right? It's going to force this bill onto the floor of the House. And then what does it say?
So it's both the discharge petition and the bill. It's the discharge petition is to force it on the House. The way it works is Thomas Massie and I introduced it yesterday. It takes 7 legislative days before you can actually go through the discharge petition. We're likely going to be in August recess. So the reality is it probably will come up for a vote after the August recess. And the bill says to release all evidence for the Epstein file, but it makes it clear that does not include any of the victim information. It does not include any child pornography. It gives the DOJ the ability to protect the victims, but to release all the other evidence and files.
So here.
Now, I'm not the most knowledgeable person. I'm a fucking Neanderthal when it comes to most things, but from the sound of things here, it seems like this is a step in the right direction to maybe finally getting justice for the victims here of Epstein and all of his clients, instead of what's currently happening where the current administration is just trying to bury it and being very clear that they're not even fucking pursuing any kind of action against all of the people they have all this evidence on and not releasing any of the client list information. This seems like it's trying to force that to come forward and maybe eventually, hopefully, get those criminals thrown in jail for all of the crimes they've committed. I guess we'll see how it all shakes down, but I wanted to mention this up top because it seems like it is finally getting to a point where there is some kind of legislation being drafted to try and push this issue more forward. Now, let's talk about how Trump continues to handle this. He is like full-blown melting down about the whole thing and fully lashing out at his own base now. He is attacking even his most adamant supporters over the Epstein case. He's even saying with his whole floppy chest that you are a bad person if you care about the Epstein stuff, saying that it's boring and nobody should care, even criticizing his own base, calling out his most loyal MAGA supporters, all the enthusiasts, calling them weaklings if they care about this, and how they're falling for a big scam, hook, line, and sinker into a Democrat galaxy brain chess maneuver here. And actually, like, I wasn't exaggerating, they are literally laughing about it.
It's pretty boring stuff. It's sordid, but it's boring. And I don't understand why it keeps going. I think really only pretty bad people, including fake news, want to keep something like that going. But credible information, let them give it. Anything that's credible, I would say, let them have it.
So there you hear it. Now, to some of you, the copium's going to set in. You're going to say, hey, he said the credible information, we can release it. We should release it, and we'll talk about that. But they also say in the same interview, we already released the credible information.
And the credible information's been given.
So if it's already been given, they're not going to give you more stuff.
CoffeeZilla recently just covered this section here beautifully. I'm just going to show you a couple of clips here from it where that guy next to Trump actually couldn't contain his laughter. He was howling like someone went over there and started tickling him because of Trump's statement here about Epstein, calling people bad people if they care about this. Literally one of the biggest pedophiles in history. Now all of a sudden it's boring, nobody should care, and actually you're a weakling, coward, weirdo, loser, bad person if you do care. So he's trying to get people to like attack others who give a shit about this, which is crazy. Because imagine being this brain-dead fucking bumbling homunculi on Twitter that is now attacking people that are calling attention to this. When keep in mind, Trump himself actually had a crucial component of his campaign talk about the Epstein client list and all of that information and how he was going to be so transparent and release it to the public because of how important it is. Not just Trump, other people in the administration as well made same promises that are now flip-flopping on it. This is pure concentrated lunacy. It is unhinged. And I cannot believe that he is just saying this. Like, not even like tiptoeing around it. He is just full-on saying it. Fucking wet spot in his goddamn diaper here. Just saying it in front of the cameras multiple times now. Like, this is an element you won't find on the periodic table, the element of surprise, because I am shocked by this and how people are actually okay with the statement. He is saying that you are a piece of shit if you are trying to get answers about the biggest child predator of all time and all of the evil associates that are getting away with the unthinkable crimes they committed. There have still been no arrest or anything even close to it, and he is now calling even people in his most tight-knit groups of enthusiasts that sing his praises and suck farts out of his butt all fucking day, calling them weaklings if they care about this. It's unbelievable. Oh, also, there's a little interesting tidbit of lore about the guy who was laughing next to Trump.
The guy next to Trump looking on and laughing as Trump says this is a big nothing burger. The only people who would deal in this kind of talk are fake news. That is Epstein's neighbor. That is Howard Lutnick, who has a house that was next to Epstein's place. You can see him laughing here.
Isn't that fascinating? If this was a TV show, people would criticize this for bad writing, being like too in your face. I mean this legitimately. The government thinks you are a fucking imbecile. They think you are a buffoon that can't think for themselves at all, can't rationally, sensibly think about anything, so they can just piss in your face and tell you it's raining, and you'll smile about it and nod and say, thanks, you're right. I mean, and I guess they're actually kind of right here because there are so many people that are just buying into this and moving on from it.
Yeah. Mr. President, I know you want to move past all this intrigue over the Epstein files, but I do want to ask you to clarify something you said this morning. You said this was all a hoax. Has your Attorney General told you this was a hoax? What evidence have you seen of that? No,
it's not the Attorney General. No, I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him. And
does he just actually think everyone in this country is Drew Barrymore from 50 First Dates that just forgets everything after a few seconds? Goober, you literally made the promise multiple times that you would release the Epstein information and all of that shit. People around you made the same promises, and now it's just crickets and just falling in line with your delusional attempt here to convince people that it's all some kind of hoax. Nobody is buying that. Nobody that's not on payroll, that is buying that. It is absurd. If this was constructed by the Democrats, surely they would have used it as a weapon against you for the last 4 fucking years that you just mentioned. They would have definitely dropped this information as a means of attacking you. Literally anybody could tell you the same thing. The immediate question that gets raised in people's heads when you keep spreading this stupid fucking lie about it being some kind of engineered hoax is, well, why are you just now saying that when you campaigned on releasing this information? It was a part of your campaign. If it's all just a big hoax. And not even just part of the, like, in his first couple months in the office, he also made a big song and dance about the Epstein Files and how they're coming. He even had fucking the file folders distributed to a bunch of fucking drones, a bunch of androids that were parading it around and taking prom pictures with the Epstein Files Phase 1, who also are now being called weaklings by Trump because they cared about the Epstein Files. So he is actually calling those people that he gave those files to fucking weaklings, and says, he did say he doesn't want that kind of support anymore for anyone that cares about Epstein. So he is actually also calling those people weaklings as well. Not that I think they give a shit. They probably enjoy the humiliation here from him. I have no idea. But, like, it's crazy because he has also made a big deal of it, and now all of a sudden, it's nothing. No one cares about it. It's all just a big act. It's a hoax, actually. None of it's real. It's all fraudulent from the fucking Democrats or something.
It's a bad group. It started, actually, look at the Steele dossier that turned out to be a total hoax. The 51 agents, the intelligence, so-called intelligence agents, it was a hoax. It's all been a big hoax. It's perpetrated by the Democrats. And some stupid Republicans and foolish Republicans fall into the net. And so they try and do the Democrats' work. No, it's I call it the Epstein hoax. It takes a lot of time and effort. Instead of talking about the great achievements we've had.
He's not being shy about it. Like, he's not being timid. He's not over here, like, under his breath saying these things. He is actually just full-blown multiple times saying how stupid people are if they care about Epstein case and all of the evil people that have gotten away with it that are actively being covered for by this administration. Also, the previous administration as well. Anyone that's ever cared about the Epstein case apparently is stupid in Trump's eyes and has been deceived by an elaborate Democrat hoax, which they never actually used for some fucking reason. I guess, because that makes sense. It's demented. He has latched onto this titty hard and is trying to suck all the milk it can possibly get from this narrative that nobody is believing. No real people, that is. He is so desperately on his hands and knees, crawling, groveling, begging people to move on from it, trying to even give it like a title. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And then again calling out his supporters, saying that they bought into the bullshit and that they haven't learned their lesson, never will. And it's just crazy. Like, he's actually even attacking his own base now. He says, let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think of talking of our incredible and unprecedented success because I don't want their support anymore. You can literally hear him crossing his arms in that statement. Well, I don't want their support anymore anyway. Like a child mad at their parents because they didn't get a cookie after dinner or something. It's so pathetic. I really don't understand how just a normal person could see all of this and still just write it off as no big deal and be supportive of the way he is handling this shit and the administration, the way they're handling it. It's incomprehensible to me. Now, I understand people who are pretending to be okay with it because they're getting some doubloons under the table for it, no doubt. But this, like, any sensible person would see this and immediately smell the shit. It's just so fucking nuts how blatant this is. And it's, I just can't help but keep talking about it. I can't stop yapping about it. It is unreal. So anyway, that's really about it. See ya. Everything happening with the Jeffrey Epstein case gets more and more unfathomable by the day. It's like the plot to Moonfall, how it just continuously gets more insane as it goes. We are now looking at the possibility that Ghislaine Maxwell might potentially receive a pardon of some kind. You know, the co-conspirator to Jeffrey Epstein, the most notorious sex trafficker, pedophile in the world, his partner, by the way, the only person to ever face any repercussions for their involvement in Epstein's crimes, is potentially looking at a pardon. Is that not the most sickening thing you could possibly imagine? So what's happening now is this administration has fully kegeled the orb of confusion, and they've completely stopped pretending to give even the slightest fuck about the Epstein files. They're not even dropping morsels of information regarding that anymore. Instead, they've shifted their focus to Ghislaine Maxwell, whom is somehow drumming up quite a bit of support from like chunks of the MAGA team, Squad MAGA. Like, there are people unironically cheering for Ghislaine Maxwell as if she's some kind of fucking hero right now. She is a child sex trafficker. What is happening to the world? But now, since the administration has completely given up on ever releasing the Epstein files, it seems, they are talking with her and dangling a potential pardon and recently like this limited immunity in her face. Which, if you have your thinking caps on, if your IQ is, above 60, you should be able to recognize how manipulative this is. Why would you not release the Epstein files? You have them. Well, actually, if you follow the storyline, if you follow the lore from all of the seasons of this anime, first, there were no Epstein files, there was no blackmail, it was just Epstein, there were no, extensive list of clients that were implicated in his crimes or anything. Then, all of a sudden, no, there actually is a list, but it was all made up by the Democrats. It was a Democrat hoax, orchestrated by Obama and crooked Hillary and all of that. And now, all of a sudden, we gotta go talk to Ghislaine Maxwell to get that list. As of now, she's allegedly been asked about 100 different names, but I can't get into the spaghetti and the meatballs of it because none of it's being done publicly. All of that is happening behind closed doors for some weird reason. But if those names are people implicated in Jeffrey Epstein's crimes, they need to face justice, and the question needs to be asked, are they even going to be prosecuted at this point? Because it's been years and still nothing is happening. The files are still not coming out, but now for some reason the focus has shifted away from the files to now talking to Ghislaine Maxwell to get a list of people, which I find to be very peculiar. To me, what this seems like is whatever list they have, they can't scrub the names off it that they'd like to, so thus they just, that hot potato is never coming out. So instead, they're going to shift focus to Ghislaine Maxwell, who is someone they can have, absolve those they want absolved. Because if there is a pardon on the table, you bet your sweet Bippy she will motorboat whoever's tits are required there in order to get that. She's not going to implicate people that don't want to be implicated if it could cost her that pardon. It's very clear she will give the names that are going to be the names they want released and omit the ones that they don't want out into the public. It just, to any sensible human being, this should be a huge red flag. You have all of this evidence, all of these Epstein files. You are not releasing them. Instead, now you are going to Ghislaine Maxwell to give names, and you are meeting with her privately. None of this is being done publicly, by the way. They're meeting with her privately.
Are we really about to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? That's the story we're going to go over today. Look, we know that Bill Clinton knew Ghislaine Maxwell. We know Trump knew her as well. We know he wished her well, but previously this was unthinkable, as she is literally the only person, the only co-conspirator who's ever faced any consequences for the abuse that Epstein did.
Now, right off the bat, I've seen a lot of shift in the focus here to Bill Clinton, about Bill Clinton's involvement with Epstein and all of the children. Yeah, I have no doubt Bill Clinton not only went to the island numerous times, that dude was probably there doing unspeakable crimes so frequently he probably had his own fucking suite built there. Like, I have no doubt about that. Lock him up. And everyone else associated with this. I don't know why there are some people that are, like, using that as a smoking gun, like, look at this hypocrisy. You'll call out, Trump for his handling of this, but what about Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton's going to be in those files. You okay with that? Yes, you Sharpie huffing, paint chip eating goobers. Who the fuck is going to be shedding tears over Bill Clinton being thrown in the slammer? I don't know too many Bill Clinton enthusiasts on this planet. Like, maybe I just don't see it. Like, how many Bill Clinton fans are out there with their Bill Clinton cologne and their Bill Clinton phone and their Bill Clinton crypto coin wearing their Bill Clinton shirt? Like, it doesn't exist. Anyone associated with these crimes needs to be held accountable and thrown in jail no matter what party they're affiliated with. I don't know why all of a sudden Bill Clinton's being brought up like it's some kind of monkey wrench in all of this.
She was sentenced to 20 years in prison and was charged, among other things, for perjury, aka lying, although she was never ultimately tried for it because they went after the heavier counts. However, Maxwell is appealing her conviction, and her lawyer has been pushing to get this in front of Donald Trump. This is a quote from her lawyer, quote, "I'd be surprised if President Trump knew his lawyers were asking the Supreme Court to let the government break a deal. He's the ultimate deal maker. I'm sure he'd agree that when the United States gives its word, it should keep it." Of course, referring to the non-prosecution agreement that Epstein had with prosecutors back in 2007. This all came to a head today when Trump was asked if he would consider pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, and he wouldn't rule it out.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell if
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something. I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
But you wouldn't rule it out.
I love the way CoffeeZilla covers things. His coverage of this is extraordinary. All of this is such important information. So Ghislaine Maxwell, she did have perjury charges. Shocker. I hope you're sitting down for this, but it turns out a child sex trafficker is also a liar. It turns out they don't always tell the truth. So she does already have a history of lying. So you're now going to her to get these names while dangling a potential pardon in front of her. Yeah, I'm sure we can really trust everything she says in regards to this now. Wake the fuck up, drooling idiots. Obviously, Ghislaine is not going to say names that could jeopardize her chance at that pardon. So if there are names that, the administration doesn't really want out there, Ghislaine's not going to give it to them. She is going to omit those, so that way she can increase her odds of getting that pardon. She's not going to try and anger them by giving all of these names. And she's already made it clear she has no problem with lying in general. So it's a completely untrustworthy person to go and get this list of people, which the administration had already said didn't exist like 2 weeks ago. It's so fascinating how this whole thing is playing out here. Just release the fucking files. Just release the files. That is the way to prove that you are innocent, that you did no wrongdoing. You know what makes you look like you did tons of wrongdoing? Continuously refusing to release the files, trying to downplay the severity of those files, saying that people are bad people if they care about Epstein and everything that happened there. That's what makes you look a lot worse. If you haven't done anything, the files should have been the first thing that he released, which was one of his promises, that he would release those Epstein files, which he still hasn't delivered on, and doesn't seem to have any desire to. It's just absurd, and people are gobbling this shit up. When he's directly asked, if he would, pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, all he says is, "I haven't thought about it, but I am allowed to do it." That seems to leave the door wide open to a pardon to a fucking child sex trafficker. That is insane. That is absolute lunacy. He didn't just say no or anything. He didn't even tiptoe around anything even resembling no. He just completely opened the door I can do it. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable.
His deputy attorney general is meeting privately with Maxwell. Of course, everybody was okay with the idea of her testifying in public in front of Congress, but that's not exactly what happened. Instead, what Todd Blanche did was privately meet with her in a meeting that nobody was allowed to see. And he said in a statement, "Today I met with Ghislaine Maxwell and I'll continue my interview of her tomorrow. The Department of Justice will share additional information about what we learned at the appropriate time." Of course, that's brought to you by the same people who said they'd release additional credible evidence. So we don't exactly know what that means.
Exactly as CoffeeZilla described, Ghislaine Maxwell testifying publicly in front of Congress is so much different than privately being interviewed by the DOJ here. If this was all public, where she was disclosing these names and having these conversations, it would be so different. But it is behind closed doors, and nobody gets access to any information that they discuss. That's a little fishy. That smells a little stinky.
And when Maxwell returned to prison, she returned with a white box of materials, which a lot of people, myself included, found very strange because she left with nothing. We also have to note that Todd Blanche was Trump's personal lawyer, so some people are calling it a conflict of interest. Even though he is no longer the personal lawyer, he is now the deputy attorney general.
Well, now, isn't that the damnedest thing? What a fascinating coinkydink. Trump's personal lawyer, who is now at the DOJ, is the one spearheading these interviews with Maxwell privately. The only person that could potentially omit Trump's name in relation to Jeffrey Epstein if his name is implicated in there? What are the odds of that, huh? And I imagine that box of materials that she returned with was nothing of concern. I'm sure that was it was a box of Labubu, probably. They gave her a bunch of blind boxes so she'd be able to entertain herself by opening some awesome Labubu or something. I bet there was nothing important in that box that she somehow mysteriously returned with.
Now, Ghislaine's lawyer gave some statements on the matter. He claimed that she answered all questions truthfully during her DOJ interview and now says she is seeking a pardon, though she says she hasn't approached Trump about it directly, but that they hope a pardon is in the works.
We haven't spoken to the president or anybody about a pardon just yet. And listen, the president this morning said he had the power to do so. We hope he exercises that power in the right and just way.
I love that statement. She answered all questions truthfully. Yeah, that holds a lot of water. As if the lawyer's going to come out and say, well, actually, she lied about a few things, but overall, she did say, mostly accurate things. Obviously, he's going to say that she answered truthfully. There's no way of knowing if she did or not. It's all fucking private in the first place, but she does have a history of lying. She did have perjury charges that weren't pursued, but they were present. It is crazy to see this unfold, and how he is now saying, we hope that he'll do the right thing and use that power to pardon for justice here, and pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, one of the most fucking infamous child sex trafficking co-conspirators of all time. It seems like people are forgetting she herself participated in the trafficking of these children, calling them her slaves and shit. What the fuck is going on here that this is even something that's a possibility? It is so sick and twisted, and it's unfolding right in front of people's faces.
In fact, there are already rumors coming out from some sources at ABC News that Ghislaine Maxwell may have already been granted a limited form of immunity to testify in the first place, presumably only for the new information that she's talking about. But still, it does seem like a pardon for Ghislaine Maxwell is very much on the table, very much possible, and it's sick to imagine that the one person who's ever faced any consequences for the most notorious trafficker of all time might get away with it.
It is completely deplorable. And that is what's been happening for years, with everyone involved in the Epstein crimes getting away with it. Except Ghislaine, she did face some punishment, but it looks like there is a chance that it might be overturned here, possibly. And the fact that it's even a possibility is horrifying. That is terrible. Now, as I said earlier, the names she gives, I would love to know if there will ever even be anything that comes from it. The names that she does provide and whatever evidence she also provides, are they even going to act on it? And I don't know the answer to it, because I think there is a very likely scenario where she only provides names, like a curated list of names, where she will give them, and then they might pursue those names, but she leaves out tons of evidence and tons of other names because that would disrupt the possibility of this pardon. I think that is very possible, and hopefully, maybe eventually, we can actually get some justice here. Hopefully, there will be a pursuit here of these criminals eventually. Maybe it comes from Ghislaine Maxwell giving those names up. Maybe not. I have no clue. But once again, to tie it all back to the beginning, why not just release the fucking files? Just release the files and also get names from Ghislaine Maxwell. Have her testify publicly the right way. Have her give all of this information and this evidence over so the public can know that there was no fishy business going on behind closed doors. Why wouldn't you want that transparency? That's been the number one buzzword for this administration is transparency, yet every step of the way with Jeffrey Epstein, it has been nothing but hidden agendas and under the table dealings and shit. It's absolute insanity. So yeah, anyway, I just wanted to give you the update here to this. It's unbelievable. That's really about it. So yeah. Got another disgusting update for you here today. It has just been reported that Maxwell is being moved to a minimum security prison in Texas with no explanation for why, and there are no answers for any of the questions people have about this, but the timing is very suspicious considering she just started cooperating with the DOJ behind closed doors, which again, there is no transparency with in regards to anything that was talked about there. Now she's mysteriously just being pushed into a very, very minimum security prison, which is it's a camp, by the way. It's a minimum security prison camp where it is usually reserved for non-violent, like white-collar criminals, shit like fraud. And now she's enjoying a cozy stay there. Now, her previous spot was also like on the lower end of prisons. It wasn't exactly like Azkaban they had her held up in, but there were still serious offenders in there, and it wasn't nearly as lax as the place she has just been moved to in Texas, seemingly out of nowhere.
The move comes a week after Maxwell met in private with Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche at the U.S. Attorney's office in Tallahassee. The details of that meeting have not been made public. It also comes after the family of one of Maxwell's alleged victims, Virginia Giuffre, spoke to our own Hallie Jackson, urging the president not to pardon Maxwell.
Isn't that just fucking preposterous that the family of one of the victims has to come forward and beg the president to not pardon a convicted child sex trafficker who was a co-conspirator to the biggest pedophile and sex trafficker in this country's history? Because there's a very real possibility that it's something he's considered because he keeps fucking teasing it, him and his administration.
The big question here is, do we know why Maxwell was moved?
It is the big question, Zinkley, and the United States Department of Justice spokespeople are refusing to provide any answer or comment this afternoon. We have called them, we have texted them, we have emailed them.
They're staying extremely tight-lipped around the reasoning with this sudden move. It's very suspicious. I think anybody that's activating neurons should be able to tell you that something smells very fishy here. Instead of releasing the Epstein Files, which it seems like is never going to happen here, which has gone through the craziest song and dance. It's been like 10 seasons worth of plot twists in regards to that from this administration. First, they're going to release them day one when Trump's in office. Next, they're coming. Next, they're on Pam Bondi's desk. Next, turns out it was a figment of everyone's imagination. It was a made-up boogeyman. Everyone just fucking, ayahuasca tripped and envisioned these files, but they were never actually real. No such thing as the Epstein Files. Then, no, the Epstein Files are real, but they're a Democrat hoax. Next, the files are compromised, so instead we're going to Maxwell directly to get all the names and dangling a pardon in front of her face. Now, all of this happening behind closed doors, by the way, this conversation with Maxwell, whom I imagine will be squealing and singing any names that the administration wants her to, omitting the ones they don't want her to say, and saying whatever names they'd like to put in her mouth. And now, all of a sudden, she's just being transferred to a very minimum security prison that sounds almost like a summer camp that also has another celebrity resident there. Elizabeth Holmes from Theranos. You remember that huge scam? This is one of those like cozy, bougie prisons where like the rich elite get privileged to go to.
To a facility that, frankly, and you can look at it on Google Earth, the fence line is the type of fence that you would put around a school. In many places, there's no razor wire. There's not a fence that would be difficult to climb. The gates of it look more like the gates of a country club than they do of a federal prison. So this is one of the camps that people like to go to. It's all women's. We do have a response from several of the victims saying today President Trump has sent a clear message today. Pedophiles deserve preferential treatment and their victims do not matter. That's coming from Annie Farmer, Maria Farmer, and the family of Virginia Roberts Giuffre.
Yeah, it really does seem that way, huh? It's very weird, so peculiar how Trump is so buddy-buddy and cozy with so many pedophiles, and even just last night proudly presented and brought aboard a registered sex offender to be part of the sports commission that will be overseeing things like the youth presidential fitness test, which is being brought back.
You want to say a few words? Come on up. Come on. He's a little shy, but once he gets going, nobody can stop.
Oh, no, that don't stop. I'm just proud to be on this team. I don't know why. I don't know what we're supposed to be doing, but I'm here to serve, and I'm here to serve you. Okay, so I'm going to do the best I can for as long as I can. Thank you very much.
Nobody like him.
If you know anything about football, you probably recognized who that was immediately. That's Lawrence Taylor. He is a Hall of Famer, probably still to date the hardest tackler in NFL history. But Lawrence Taylor is a registered sex offender In 2011, he pled guilty to sexual misconduct with a 16-year-old who was trafficked, by the way, and has since been on the sex offenders registry. He was registered as a level 1 offender, and some people are actually using this as a defense of him. Like, it's not that big of a deal. He's just a level 1 sex offender, which is crazy, but that's the times we're living in right now with the absolute lunatics running wild outside of fucking Arkham Asylum. They're now just in society here with us. Anyway, though, the facts are he pled guilty to 1 count of soliciting a prostitute and a 2nd count of sexual misconduct and having sex with a woman without consent since the victim was 16. Under oath, he admitted to having sex with a 16-year-old, but claimed that she had told him she was 19, so he believed she was of the age of consent. Now, I don't know about all you lovely people out there. I'm not trying to put farts in your butthole here, but I'm gonna go ahead and maybe be a little brave here. This might be, just a spicy hot take, but I'm gonna let it rip anyway. I don't think a registered sex offender who has openly admitted to having sex with a sex-trafficked individual he thought was of the age of consent but was actually a child is really the best fit for the Presidential Sporting Commission here that will be overseeing activities for children. Now, maybe it's just me with those crazy thoughts, though. Maybe that's the problem, actually. I'm not open-minded enough to see why this is actually such a galaxy brain good idea. Because there's a lot of people defending it. Like, how's Trump supposed to know? This was 14 years ago. It's ancient history. What's the big deal? And then people just excusing it like, oh, it happened so long ago and Trump is such a busy man. There's no way you could have possibly known about this history with Lawrence Taylor. Like, what the fuck, man? It's a sex offenders registry. It's public knowledge. All of Lawrence Taylor's neighbors know it. How could the White House not know it before hiring him to bring him on board for this sporting commission? Do they not do any homework on the people they hire? Is there no vetting process whatsoever? They just hire anybody randomly? I mean, actually, that's probably exactly how it goes. Because even Lawrence Taylor, when Trump, babies him up there, Trump talks to him like he's talking to, an actual 4-year-old, by the way, like, oh, do you want to come say something? Come on. And then, rubs his back. Come on, say something. Which is super weird in and of itself, by the way. But when Lawrence Taylor does talk, he's like, don't really know why I'm here. Don't really know what we're supposed to be doing. But I'm happy to be here. So he doesn't even know what the fuck he's doing there. Why is he hired? That is the perfect encapsulation of this whole administration. What he said. Don't really know why I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing. That is exactly what the fuck is happening right now. Everything from the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files and all of the circus shit that has followed. It is unbelievable. And it somehow just keeps getting worse. Just stew on this. Really just fucking sit and spin on this preposterous shit that we are seeing here. It is not normal. It is not okay. It actually seems like this administration is trying to normalize pedophilia. It literally does seem that way. He just added a sex offender to the President's Council of Sports, Nutrition, and Fitness, which will give initiatives to children. What is happening? How can that possibly not be something that everybody comes out and says, whoa, this is fucked up? There is no defense of that. There are hundreds of other NFL legends that you could have put on this council if you really wanted to. That aren't sex offenders and shit. It's crazy. It's like he goes out of his way to find pedophiles and be close with them and give them positions of power. It does feel like he gives preferential treatment to pedophiles. He's moving Maxwell to a cozier, more low-security prison in Texas for some reason that's not being disclosed. He's got Lawrence Taylor now as part of this President Council. It's absolutely unhinged. I had to talk about it. Sorry, I've been yapping quite a bit about it now, but it is incomprehensible. To a sane society, this would be this would be unforgivable. But it's just still unfolding in front of everyone's faces, and some people are just so brainwashed and lost that they accept it and just move on like it's not a big deal. It is a big deal. All of the evil people that were on the Epstein client list are still getting away with it with no punishment, and the only person who has faced any punishment at all for being a co-conspirator, Ghislaine Maxwell, is maybe going to be receiving a pardon. What the fuck? Anyway, I'll stop blabbering for now. That's really about it. See ya. There's been a lot going on in regards to the Epstein Files and been a bunch of emails that have come out. It's been kind of a smorgasbord of new information, surprisingly. And there's even apparently going to be a full release of the Epstein Files. It's been voted on, it's passed, but I'll believe it when I see it. I've talked about this on stream. I am fully expecting this to be the same shit, different toilet, repackaging the same material that's been released from the Epstein Files 5 times now. I swear to God, these Epstein Files have been remastered more times than Last of Us. They keep re-releasing the same information over and over again with a different coat of paint. They're not actually releasing new Epstein Files, but they keep pretending that they are, or that what they drop is new Epstein file information. But when you actually look at it, it's the same thing that was released years ago. That's what I'm expecting here, but I would love to be proven wrong. I would love if this is finally some real unredacted new information that implicates some horrible evil people and real punishment comes their way, actual justice for the victims. We'll see. I have my skepticism about that. But another thing that's happened in regards to everything Epstein related is those emails that the committee has released. And there's a lot of mysteries there, of course, the biggest being who is Bubba and what cock was in Trump's mouth potentially. And along with that, there are a lot of other people that have now been thrust into the spotlight here for their close association with Epstein, one of them being a goober named Larry Summers. Now, maybe I'm just a Neanderthal who's living under a rock, but I'd never heard of Lawrence Summers until this. But just look at the political power he's had for so many decades now. He was the 8th director of the National Economic Council under Barack Obama's presidency. He was the president of Harvard from 01 to 06. He was also the United States Secretary of Treasury under Clinton. This is a very powerful guy. And when these emails came out, people were quick to notice Lawrence Summers was very chummy with Jeffrey Epstein, even going as far as to have Epstein as his fucking wingman. He was trying to suck farts out of Jeffrey Epstein's ass looking for tiddlywinks of advice on how he could fuck one of his students, a mentee, as he referred to her as. It is so creepy. It is vile, disgusting shit. Larry Summers has been married since 2005. These texts and emails were from 2018 to 2019, him trying to get Jeffrey Epstein's input on how he can have sex with this student of his, and it's just this series of whiny messages from him, this pathetic loser-ass shit that you'd probably find in like the foulest corners of Reddit. And Larry, no carry about his marriage, Summers, is begging on his hands and knees for Jeffrey Epstein to bless him with the guidance so he could have sex with this mentee of his. It is so fucking gross. And these are just what is now publicly available in their messages exchanged. Like, it is probably a lot deeper than this connection between Larry Summers and Jeffrey Epstein. This is just what they have, like, physical evidence of with these messages. I have no doubt Larry Summers being this close, where Jeffrey Epstein will refer to himself as Larry's wingman, I have no doubt these two have probably been in cahoots for a long fucking time. It is scary. Now, I also saw a clip here that someone recorded in their class at Harvard where Larry teaches, and he actually addressed what students were seeing from all of the Epstein information. This was after he made his statement of regret about his connection, calling it like a major error in judgment to communicate with Jeffrey Epstein, the most infamous pedophile in our fucking history. And he had a little bit to say about all of this, hoopla going on.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've said that I'm going to step back from public activities for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligations. And so, with your permission, we're going to go forward and talk about the material in the class.
No, Larry, you don't have my permission to continue teaching. How about instead of going over the material, you go over to the nearest prison and throw yourself in one of the fucking cells? Because it feels like the justice system's never gonna do that for anyone that's closely associated with Jeffrey Epstein and all of his fucking crimes. So why don't you take it upon yourself to do that for us? Now, this video's like a day and a half old. There was an update to this story last night. He is not going to be finishing his teaching obligations at Harvard. They're investigating his ties to child sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, and they have made the correct decision to remove him from his position teaching here, which to me sounds like a no-brainer. One of the things in the emails that was revealed is Larry Summers trying to fuck his mentee, one of his students that he was mentoring. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to keep him in that position. That's like keeping the big bad wolf in a classroom with a bunch of little piggies there. So that was the right call, taking him off of that position during this investigation. And I feel like it's probably a pretty easy investigation when there's already a ton of evidence to his close ties to Jeffrey Epstein. The question that remains is, how close are those ties? Did he visit the island? It seems like he was very buddy-buddy with Jeffrey Epstein. I cannot imagine that these 2018 and 2019 exchanges are like the only things that they ever talked about. If I was a betting man, I would make a strong wager that this communication is not the first time they've been closely talking. I don't think Jeffrey Epstein would jokingly call himself Summers' wingman based off of only a few text messages over the course of that year. I would wager that they have been very close for a long time, and I imagine Larry Summers is implicated very deeply in a lot of the Epstein files that we just haven't seen all of yet. And it seems like that hunch is corroborated by a lot of outlets reporting that his correspondence with Epstein had extended for over a decade after Epstein had already been sent to jail for soliciting a minor for prostitution. So it's not like Larry Summers wouldn't know this about Jeffrey Epstein. He was talking to him all the way up until like the day before he got arrested in 2019. There's no way Larry didn't know who Jeffrey Epstein was and what was going on there. I just don't believe that. He can call it like an error in judgment all he wants, but he literally had already been arrested for soliciting a minor for prostitution, and that is the guy that Larry Summers was going to frequently for advice on trying to fuck one of his students. I feel like there is no world where Larry Summers wasn't closely tied to Jeffrey Epstein for a long time and wasn't privy to what was going on behind the scenes with Epstein's operation and all of that shit going on there. Now, going back to that video briefly, I find it baffling that Harvard didn't immediately relieve him of his position after the information came out, like while they were about to conduct an investigation. I don't know why he was allowed to go into the classroom and give his statement, like his POV on everything here, and it seems like was even going to continue teaching in some capacity to this classroom. He went in there with, his PR speech like, hey guys, listen, look, you may have read some not so good yucky things about me and Mr. Epstein. I know, not a great look, but we have to remember your minds are hungry and I'm the chef. It's my duty to teach you, so we're here. Get your pen and paper out. Let's go, Poindexters. I have a teaching obligation to fulfill and I plan on doing that. Also, unrelated to everything, I have slots available for mentorship if anyone wants to be mentored by me, to see me after class. Anyway, though, it's time to get back to the teaching. Like, it's so weird to me. Like, I understand they need to investigate the claims, but while doing so, he shouldn't have been allowed back in the classroom in the first place to teach or say that he is going to be able to continue teaching. Like, addressing the elephant in the room is somehow enough, and now all of a sudden he's allowed to be able to still give lectures. Who the fuck is going to want to sit there and listen to this guy who is apparently close friends with Jeffrey Epstein? Like, I'm surprised everyone didn't immediately just get out of their seats and walk out of the class. Maybe they did. It's a very short video. It's entirely possible they did. I just find it odd, is all. Anyway, just wanted to yap a bit about Larry Summers for a bit, and that's really about it. So, yep. Boy howdy, I can't believe it. The title is not clickbait. This is big. Color me blue and call me a smurf. I'm looking real stupid right now because I've been quite the Scrooge bah-humbogging saying that it'll never happen. They'll never release the Epstein Files. And look what happens. Random Friday evening, they drop these puppies. Oh, the same Epstein Files that the government also tried to say aren't real are actually a huge hoax and you're an idiot if you believe in them. They're like the Tooth Fairy or something. No such thing. Oh, well, here's those Epstein Files that we said not long ago weren't real, by the way. Finally, all of the information on all of these evil pedophiles right here at our fingertips. We get one sentence and then pretty much everything else redacted. And this isn't some isolated incident where I'm cherry-picking shit. The bulk of these files are heavily redacted, and heavily doesn't even do it justice. It's so beyond that. Like, it is redacted to a comical degree where it would be laughable if it wasn't just so blatantly evil. Like, look at the thumbnail here. You could close your eyes and see the same thing that these files show you, which is just nothing. Darkness. I always said if they do release it, it'll probably be heavily redacted. I didn't even expect it to be this extreme. This is crazy. They don't even let like a couple of like rogue words fly, like random like the or and. It's all just blacked out emptiness. They released hundreds of pages of it's unfucking believable. Yeah, we've really got these evil pedophiles on the ropes now that the most transparent administration in history has dropped these puppies fresh on our laps here. Look at this. Wow. We've really got them now. We've got them cornered. Surely they'll be held accountable with this out there.
We'll talk about blacking out. I don't know if I can get a close-up of my phone. This is one of the documents that the Justice Department released. It's 100 pages.
Right.
This is what it looks like. I don't know if you can see. It's all black. It's just 100 pages of redaction. That's the transparency we're getting here.
Right, and I'll point to...
This is like the LaCroix of Epstein Files, where it's the idea of the files themselves, not actually providing anything. Imagine scrolling through those 100 pages of just pure void emptiness. What the fuck? That is absurd. Now, it's not just these empty files that they plopped out there in the open. They did also provide a lot of new photos that show people like Bill Clinton with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell, as well as like Chris Tucker, even Michael Jackson. Like, there were a large amount of photos that weren't previously public. And in those photos, there are individuals whose identity is redacted. They have like the giant black square over them. They've been censored. And I thought that was supposed to be for victims, you know? But according to what I read, this actually comes from Fox News. They said the Justice Department redacted the names and identifiers of victims. Fox News Digital has learned that the same redaction standards were applied to politically exposed individuals and government officials. What the fuck? Why would those same redaction standards be applied to politically exposed individuals? That's like the most important individual to be exposed in these Epstein files. Why would that under any circumstances be suitable for a redaction? That's fucking crazy. So, like, they can just be censored out like it's fucking Super Smash Bros. Melee when you're about to unlock a new fighter through, like, a challenge approaching you. Why? That makes no sense. That should just be reserved solely for the victims here. I don't understand, if this is true, why they would be able to redact that kind of information on politically exposed individuals. And it doesn't apply to all politically exposed individuals, clearly, because Bill Clinton is completely unmasked here. He is just, like, raw out in the open in these photos, as well as others, like I mentioned. So it was, I guess there was exceptions for some of them. I'm not exactly sure how the ruling all worked. There's like a bunch of like nuance to it here. It's very confusing, but under no circumstances should there have been exceptions for these politically exposed individuals in the Epstein files and photos. That's really peculiar, and that really seems extremely corrupt because they should all be going to jail. Like, take, for example, Bill fucking Clinton here. This guy's like the Ronald McDonald to Jeffrey Epstein's empire of child sex trafficking. This guy is in so many photos with so much evidence to support how deeply involved he was as a client. We now have even more photos of him, and still nothing has happened to Bill Clinton. The only person with more photographs with Jeffrey Epstein and Maxwell is Trump. And speaking of Trump, he is doing everything in his power to ensure Maxwell has the easiest time imaginable. Maxwell, the only person, by the way, who has ever faced even an iota of punishment for all of the innumerable, unthinkable, heinous crimes with Jeffrey Epstein's empire of child sex trafficking, the only person who faced even the slightest punishment, he has now ensured went from a prison to a fucking summer camp where she gets to, like, pet training service dogs now, and she lives luxuriously there. It's pretty weird. I think it's very odd that these files are so heavily redacted. I think there's also a very good chance that the photos released were probably not the entire kit and caboodle. I would bet there were probably even more photos that we don't have access to and have probably been completely burned and buried somewhere that just don't exist anymore. That would be my guess. And if you're wondering about any new photos of Trump with Jeffrey Epstein or Maxwell, there's not really anything new there, but he does appear in a few of these photos they released, like this one where there is a framed photo of him with Jeffrey Epstein and Melania in between, as well as this right here where you can see two different pictures of Trump in the drawer. So overall, no like new photos of them together, but there is a framed one and a couple in that drawer, so he did like to keep photos of Trump around of the two when they hung out. And it's hard to say if there's any new evidence there because there isn't anything new in the files themselves since it's all fucking redacted. So the only thing like new here are some of these photographs, which also are redacted. And while I thought it was supposed to be reserved solely for victims, it seems as though there is the potential that it was also used to hide politically exposed individuals. I don't know if that's 100% confirmed or not, but there is now a lot of hoopla saying that this doesn't comply with what was actually sought, and they are looking to pursue further action because they redacted so much that they weren't allowed to. So I guess we'll see how it all shakes out, but holy shit, I still cannot believe what they released here in the state that it is. I can't believe they thought this would go over well with literally anybody to release hundreds of pages of pure redactions. That's unbelievable. But as far as the new photos go, I don't see how that's not actionable to at least try and investigate further. In particular, someone like Bill Clinton, who's here constantly. This guy's popping up like it's Where's Waldo, but he's really easy to spot. I don't understand how, if all of this information has existed for this long, and even in this administration that was denying its existence, why don't they do anything about what they have? I feel like it should warrant, at the very least, some further poking around to see what the fuck was happening here. Like, it just makes no sense to me until you start to realize that all of these people in power, this administration, the previous administration too, who also didn't release anything of substance when it comes to the Jeffrey Epstein case, still nobody's been punished. It's very clear when you realize that there are people on both sides of the political aisle here that are implicated, and should someone like Bill Clinton fall, there's a chance that many others do too that they don't want being exposed. I think that's probably why there's been so little action being taken. It's just so fucking sickening how blatant this corruption is just out in the open. And now with these documents they released, if you can even call them that, it's even more clear as day just how deep this rot goes. It's fucking absurd. Anyway, I had to yap about this a bit. That's it. See ya.